Detective Ryan pulled into the Shell station just past 11 at night. His eyes burned from staring at computer screens all day, and his back ached from sitting in that cramped surveillance van for 8 hours straight. All he wanted was to grab some gas, maybe a coffee, and head home to crash on his couch. The station was nearly empty. Just one other car parked near the air pump, and the usual flickering fluorescent lights that made everything look like a scene from a horror movie. Ryan stepped out of his beat-up Honda and stretched, hearing his joints pop. 42 years old and feeling every single year of it tonight. He swiped his card at the pump and started filling up, lost in thought about the case he'd been working. Corporate fraud. Big money, the kind of stuff that made his head spin with numbers and shell companies and offshore accounts. Give him a straightforward robbery any day over this white-collar maze. That's when he heard it. Soft crying. The kind someone tries to muffle but can't quite manage. Ryan looked around and spotted her. A young woman sat on the concrete curb near the air pump, her face buried in her hands. Even from 20 feet away, he could see her shoulders shaking. She wore what looked like expensive clothes, a cream-colored blazer and dark pants, though they were wrinkled like she'd been wearing them for days. His detective instincts kicked in automatically. He scanned the area. No signs of danger. Her car, a sleek black Mercedes, sat beside her with the driver's side tilted at an odd angle. Flat tire. The woman was clearly pregnant, maybe 6 or 7 months along. Ryan finished pumping his gas and stood there for a moment, debating. His ex-wife used to say he had a hero complex, always trying to save everyone, she'd complain. Maybe she was right. But he couldn't just drive away from a pregnant woman crying alone at a gas station near midnight. He walked over slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Excuse me, miss? Are you all right?" The woman's head snapped up. Her face was blotchy and red, mascara running in dark streaks down her cheeks. She looked young, probably late 20s with dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her eyes were puffy from crying. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, wiping at her face with the back of her hand. "I'm fine, just having a moment." Ryan glanced at the flat tire, then back at her. "Looks like more than a moment. You got a flat there." She laughed, but it came out bitter. "Yeah, perfect ending to a perfect day." She gestured at the tire helplessly. "I don't know how to change it. I've called 3 people and nobody's answering. My assistant is off for the night and everyone else." She trailed off, fresh tears welling up. "You got a spare in the trunk?" Ryan asked. She nodded, looking surprised. "I think so. This is my company car, so it should. Pop the trunk. I'll take a look." The woman stared at him like he'd just offered her a winning lottery ticket. "You'd do that?" "You don't even know me," Ryan shrugged. "Can't leave a pregnant lady stranded at a gas station. My daughter would never forgive me if she found out I did that." Something in the woman's expression shifted. Relief, maybe, or gratitude. She fumbled in her designer purse for her keys and clicked the trunk open. Ryan found the spare easily enough, along with a jack and tire iron that looked like they'd never been used. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work, grateful he'd helped his old man change enough tires growing up that this was second nature. The woman stood nearby, watching. After a minute of silence, she spoke. "I'm Sophia, by the way, and thank you. Really, you're saving my life right now." "Ryan," he said, grunting as he loosened a lug nut. "And don't mention it. Just takes a few minutes. Still, I feel like an idiot. I'm almost 30 years old and I can't change a tire." She wrapped her arms around herself even though it wasn't particularly cold. "I can do calculus and code in 6 programming languages, but basic car maintenance? Completely useless." Ryan smiled despite himself. "We all got our strengths. I couldn't code my way out of a paper bag." "What do you do?" Sophia asked. Ryan had his cover story ready automatically. Years of undercover work made lying feel like breathing sometimes. Business consultant. Help companies streamline their operations, cut costs, that kind of thing. It wasn't entirely false. He did analyze businesses, just usually to find evidence of criminal activity. "Sounds interesting," Sophia said, though her voice suggested she was just being polite. They fell into silence again while Ryan worked. He could feel her watching him, and he wondered what her story was. The expensive car, the designer clothes, the fact that she'd mentioned a company car and an assistant. Clearly someone important, but sitting here crying at a gas station, completely alone. "Can I ask you something?" Sophia's voice was quiet. "Shoot. Do you ever feel like you've worked so hard to build something to create this perfect life, And then one day you wake up and realize it's all falling apart, and there's nothing you can do to stop it? Ryan paused, looking up at her. The vulnerability in her voice was raw and real. Yeah, he said honestly. I've been there. What did you do? He thought about his divorce 5 years ago, about raising his daughter Lily alone after his wife decided family life wasn't for her and moved to California with some yoga instructor. About the nights he'd sat in his apartment wondering if he was completely screwing up his kid's life. I kept going, he said finally, one day at a time. Focused on what I could control, the rest, had to let it go. Sophia laughed softly. Easier said than done. Never said it was easy. Ryan finished with the last lug nut and lowered the car. But you got more strength than you think, especially now. He nodded toward her belly. Sophia's hand went to her stomach automatically, a gesture he'd noticed pregnant women always seem to make. That's the scary part. I thought I'd be doing this with someone. We had plans. A whole future mapped out, then she stopped, her voice catching. He left? Ryan asked gently. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Ryan stood up and wiped his hands on his jeans. His loss. And his mistake. That kid's gonna need someone strong. Someone who doesn't give up when things get hard. Sounds like they got that in you. You don't know me, Sophia said, but she was smiling a little. Know enough. You're out here trying to solve your own problems at 11 at night, pregnant and exhausted. That's strength. Or stupidity, she countered. Sometimes they look the same, Ryan said with a grin. He loaded the flat tire into her trunk and closed it. There you go. But you need to get that tire fixed or replaced soon. The spare's not meant for long distances. I will, tomorrow, I promise. Sophia pulled out her wallet. Please let me pay you something. Or buy you dinner. Or both. Ryan held up his hand. Not necessary. Just pay it forward someday. Help someone else when they need it. Sophia looked like she might cry again, but this time for different reasons. You're a good person, Ryan, genuinely good. I don't meet many of those in my line of work. What do you do? He asked, curious now. She hesitated like she was debating how much to share. I work in tech management. Ryan nodded, filing away the evasiveness. Most people who just worked in management didn't have drivers and assistants and company Mercedes. But he didn't push. Instead, he reached into his wallet and pulled out one of his business cards. The fake ones with his cover identity and a burner phone number he used for cases. Look, if you ever need anything or if you get another flat or whatever, give me a call. I'm serious. Sophia took the card like it was precious. Thank you, really, I might take you up on that. Please do. And hey, for what it's worth, whatever you're going through, you're gonna get through it. You and that baby both, she smiled, a real smile this time. I hope you're right. I'm always right. Ask my daughter. That made Sophia laugh, which had been Ryan's goal. She looked so much younger when she laughed, less weighted down by whatever burden she was carrying. They said their goodbyes and Ryan watched her get in her car and drive away carefully on the spare tire. He stood there in the gas station lot for a moment, thinking about the encounter. Something about it felt significant, though he couldn't put his finger on why. He shook off the feeling and climbed back in his Honda. Probably just tired. Tomorrow he'd be back in the surveillance van, watching the Meridian Technologies building, trying to build a case against their CFO who they suspected of embezzling millions. Ryan didn't know then that the pregnant woman he'd just helped, the one who'd been so vulnerable and real with him, would turn out to be at the very center of his investigation. He didn't know that Sophia wasn't just someone who worked in tech management. She was the CEO of Meridian Technologies. The founder, the genius who'd built $1 billion company from nothing, and in 2 days when he saw her photo during the case briefing, his entire world would flip upside down. But tonight, she was just Sophia, a scared woman who needed help, and he was just Ryan doing what he'd always done, trying to help where he could. Sometimes the universe works in strange ways. Sometimes the people who cross our paths are meant to be there, even when we don't understand why yet. This was one of those times. Ryan drove home thinking about his daughter, about whether he had any food in his fridge, about the mountains of paperwork waiting for him tomorrow. Normal thoughts, everyday concerns. He had no idea that everything was about to change, that the simple act of changing a tire would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge everything he believed about his job, about trust and about the lines between personal and professional. For now, he was just a tired detective who'd done a good deed. And Sophia was just a pregnant woman who'd found unexpected kindness when she needed it most. The rest would come soon enough. 2 days after the gas station encounter, Ryan sat in the cramped briefing room at the precinct, nursing his third cup of terrible coffee. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, giving everyone that sickly greenish tint that made them all look half dead. Captain Morrison stood at the front of the room, clicking through a presentation on the projector. Charts, numbers, corporate hierarchies, the kind of stuff that made Ryan's eyes glaze over if he wasn't careful. "All right, listen up," Morrison said, his gravelly voice cutting through the low chatter. "We've been circling Meridian Technologies for 6 months now. The money trail is clear. Someone inside is bleeding that company dry, and we're 90% sure it's the CFO. Ryan sat up straighter. This was the case he'd been working. The reason for all those mind-numbing hours in the surveillance van, watching people in expensive suits walk in and out of a glass building downtown. Richard Bartlett, Morrison continued, pulling up a photo of a man in his late 30s, slicked back hair, expensive suit, the kind of smile that probably charmed investors but made Ryan's cop instincts tingle. Chief Financial Officer. Been with the company for 4 years. Smart guy. Too smart. He's been creating shell companies, moving money through offshore accounts, covering his tracks pretty well. How much are we talking? Detective Chen asked from the front row. Conservatively. 45 million over 3 years. A low whistle went around the room. That was serious money. The kind of money that could disappear a person if they wanted to run. Here's the problem, Morrison said, clicking to the next slide. Bartlett's got the board wrapped around his finger. He's made himself indispensable. The only person who might be able to help us get inside, who might actually want to help us, is the CEO. Ryan was only half listening, still thinking about the numbers. 45 million. How did someone even steal that much money without anyone noticing? The CEO is young, brilliant, but notoriously private, Morrison continued. Built this company from absolutely nothing. Started coding in her college dorm room at 22, had her first major contract at 23, and by 24 she'd built Meridian Technologies into a multi-million-dollar operation. Morrison clicked the remote again, and a photo filled the screen. Ryan's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. It was Sophia. His Sophia from the gas station. Same dark hair, though in this photo it was professionally styled. Same face, though here she was smiling confidently at some tech conference wearing a sharp business suit. The caption read, Sophia Montgomery, CEO and founder, Meridian Technologies. Net worth, $800 million. Her name's Sophia Montgomery, Morrison was saying. 32 years old. She's been out of the public eye for the past 4 months. Word is she's on some kind of medical leave, but the details are fuzzy. The board's getting nervous about her absence, which gives Bartlett even more power. Ryan couldn't breathe. The pregnant woman crying at the gas station. The one who'd said she felt like her whole world was falling apart. The one who'd been so real, so vulnerable with him. She wasn't just some tech manager. She was one of the most powerful CEOs in the state. If we're going to take down Bartlett, Morrison continued, we need someone on the inside. Someone who knows the company's financial systems. Someone who'd actually want to help us put this guy away. He paused. The problem is, nobody's seen or talked to Montgomery in months. She's basically disappeared. Ryan's mind was racing. He'd talked to her 2 nights ago. She'd given him her number, actually, scribbled on the back of a receipt before she'd driven away. He'd stuck it in his wallet without thinking much about it. Should he say something? Tell the team about the encounter? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Something held him back. Maybe it was the memory of how vulnerable she'd been, how she'd trusted him with her pain, thinking he was just some random guy who'd helped her with a tire. If he revealed that now, it might compromise whatever fragile trust they'd built. Or maybe, a small voice in his head whispered, you just want an excuse to see her again. Ryan pushed that thought away. This was a case, a massive fraud case. His personal feelings didn't matter. Ryan, Morrison called out, snapping him back to attention. You've been on surveillance. What's your read on Bartlett's patterns? Ryan cleared his throat and launched into his observations. Bartlett came to work at 7 sharp every morning. Left around 6. Took lunch at the same restaurant 3 times a week, always with different board members. He was methodical, careful, the kind of criminal who planned everything down to the last detail. The briefing wrapped up an hour later with assignments. Ryan was supposed to continue surveillance, try to find any crack in Bartlett's routine they could exploit. Meanwhile, other team members would work on tracing the money trails and building the paper case. As everyone filed out, Ryan lingered behind. Morrison was packing up his laptop when Ryan approached. "Captain, quick question." Morrison looked up. "What's on your mind?" Ryan hesitated. "This Montgomery woman. You said she's been out of sight for months. Do we have any way to contact her? Any chance she'd cooperate?" Morrison shook his head. "We've tried. Her assistant stonewalls every inquiry, says Montgomery isn't taking meetings or calls. We've thought about approaching her directly, but if we spook her and she tips off Bartlett even accidentally, the whole case could collapse." He studied Ryan's face. "Why, you got an idea?" "Just thinking out loud," Ryan said. "Seems like if she built this company from nothing, she'd want to protect it. Might be worth finding a way to reach her that doesn't feel like a police investigation." Morrison considered this. "Maybe, but tread carefully. This woman's not just smart, she's connected. One wrong move and we could have lawyers crawling all over us." He picked up his briefcase. "For now, stick to Bartlett. Let me worry about Montgomery." Ryan nodded and left, but his mind was already made up. He had Sophia's number. She'd told him to call if he needed anything. Technically, he did need something.
He needed to understand what was happening at her company. But could he do that without lying to her?
She thought he was a business consultant. If he showed up asking questions about her CFO, she'd know something was wrong. The ethical dilemma gnawed at him all afternoon. Ryan sat in his surveillance van across from Meridian Technologies, watching people come and go, and thought about Sophia's face at the gas station. The tears, the raw honesty. She'd trusted him. His phone buzzed. A text from his daughter Lily. "Dad, can we get pizza for dinner? Please, please, please." Ryan smiled despite his complicated thoughts. "Sure, kiddo. Home by 6, you're the best. Love you. Love you too." That's when his work phone rang. Unknown number. Detective Ryan Chen. He answered automatically, then immediately regretted using his real title. If this was a case-related call, he should have been more careful. "Ryan?" The voice was tentative, familiar. His heart rate picked up. "Sophia?" "Yeah, it's me. I hope it's okay that I called. You said I could, and I just..." She paused. "This is going to sound crazy, but would you want to grab coffee sometime? I know we just met, but talking to you the other night really helped. I don't have many people in my life who feel I don't know real." Ryan's mind went into overdrive. This was perfect. A chance to get close to her, to understand what was happening at Meridian, to potentially build a connection that could help the case. It was also completely unethical. "Coffee sounds great," he heard himself say. "When were you thinking?" "Tomorrow. There's a place downtown, the Daily Grind, it's quiet. 2 o'clock? I'll be there." After they hung up, Ryan sat in his van staring at his phone. What had he just done? He should call Morrison right now, tell him about this development. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way Sophia had sounded on the phone. Not like a powerful CEO, but like a lonely person reaching out for genuine human connection. Or maybe that same small voice whispered again, "You're making excuses because you want to see her again for reasons that have nothing to do with the case." Ryan pushed the thought away and focused on Bartlett, who was exiting the building right on schedule, but his concentration was shot. All he could think about was tomorrow's coffee meeting. That night, after pizza with Lily and helping her with homework, Ryan lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought about his ex-wife's accusations. The hero complex, always trying to save everyone. Maybe she'd been right. Maybe that's all this was. He'd seen Sophia vulnerable and now he wanted to fix her problems, but it wasn't that simple. There was something about her. The intelligence in her eyes. The way she'd opened up to a stranger. The strength hiding beneath that moment of weakness. And now he knew she was being robbed blind by someone she trusted. Someone who'd apparently gotten her pregnant and then abandoned her. The father of her baby was the same man stealing millions from her company. Ryan's detective instincts screamed that this was important information. This wasn't just corporate fraud anymore. This was personal. Bartlett had betrayed Sophia on every possible level. Did she know? About the money, not just the personal betrayal? He needed to find out, but carefully, very carefully. The next afternoon, Ryan arrived at the Daily Grind 15 minutes early. He'd agonized over what to wear, finally settling on jeans and a button-down shirt. casual but put together. He felt ridiculous, like he was going on a date instead of meeting a potential witness in a major fraud investigation. The coffee shop was indeed quiet. Exposed brick walls, mismatched furniture, the smell of fresh ground beans. Ryan ordered a black coffee and claimed a corner table where he could see the door. Sophia arrived right at 2 o'clock. She wore a loose sweater and comfortable pants, her hair in a simple ponytail. No makeup that Ryan could see. She looked tired but managed a genuine smile when she spotted him. "You came," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Of course. Promised I would." She ordered a decaf latte and they sat in slightly awkward silence for a moment. Ryan noticed she kept fidgeting with her napkin, folding and unfolding it. "So," she finally said, "full disclosure, I've never done this before." "Done what?" "Called up a stranger I met at a gas station and asked them to coffee." She laughed nervously. "My therapist says I need to build a support system outside of work. Apparently I've become too isolated. But it's hard, you know? Everyone I meet wants something from me. Advice, connections, money, jobs." She looked directly at him. "But you helped me change a tire and didn't ask for anything." That felt different. Guilt twisted in Ryan's stomach. She had no idea he wanted something too: information, access, evidence. "We all need people we can be real with," he said, and meant it. No agenda. Just human connection. "Exactly." Sophia's shoulders relaxed slightly. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. You mentioned you have a daughter. Are you married?" Ryan shook his head. "Divorced. 5 years now. My ex-wife decided family life wasn't for her. She's in California now. I've got full custody of Lily. She's 10. That must be hard, raising a daughter alone. Some days more than others. But she's the best thing in my life. Makes all the hard stuff worth it." He paused. "What about you?" "I don't want to pry, but you mentioned the baby's father." Sophia's expression clouded. "He's out of the picture completely. It's complicated." "Complicated how?" She bit her lip, debating how much to share. "We worked together. I thought we had something real. But when I got pregnant, everything changed. He wanted me to—" She stopped. "Let's just say we wanted different things. And when I chose the baby, he chose himself." Ryan wanted to tell her that he knew, that the man who'd betrayed her was also stealing from her company, that she was in danger on multiple fronts. But he couldn't. "Not yet. His loss," Ryan said instead. "Seriously. Any man who walks away from his own kid isn't worth your time." Sophia smiled sadly. "Everyone keeps saying that. But it doesn't make it hurt less." They talked for 2 hours. About life, about single parenting, about feeling overwhelmed by responsibility. Sophia was careful not to reveal too much about her work. Just saying she ran a tech company, and it was stressful. Ryan maintained his consultant cover, making up stories about clients and projects. With every lie, he felt worse. With every genuine moment between them, he fell deeper into an ethical nightmare of his own making. But he couldn't stop. Because somewhere beneath the guilt and the deception, Ryan realized he actually enjoyed talking to Sophia. Not as a detective working a case, as a person connecting with another person, and that scared him more than anything. As they said goodbye outside the coffee shop, Sophia touched his arm. "Thank you for this, really. Can we do it again?" Ryan knew he should say no. Should come clean about everything right now. Should tell her who he really was and what he really wanted. Instead, he smiled and said, "Absolutely. I'd like that." He watched her walk to her Mercedes, protected by a spare tire that would need replacing soon, just like their fragile, temporary connection built on half-truths and hidden agendas. Ryan pulled out his phone to call Morrison, to report this development. But he didn't make the call. Not yet. Instead, he drove back to the precinct, telling himself he was just being thorough. Building trust took time. He needed more information before bringing his captain into this. Deep down, though, Ryan knew the truth. He was in over his head, walking a dangerous line between duty and something else entirely, something that felt a lot like the beginning of caring for someone he had no business caring for. And somewhere across town, Sophia sat in her expensive but empty house, holding her phone and smiling at Ryan's number in her contacts. For the first time in months, she felt a little less alone. Neither of them knew that in less than 2 weeks everything would explode. The lies would surface. The truth would shatter whatever fragile trust they were building. But for now, they had coffee dates and carefully guarded secrets. And sometimes that's how the most complicated stories begin. 2 weeks passed, and Ryan felt like he was living two completely different lives. During the day, he was Detective Chen. He sat in surveillance vans, tracked Richard Bartlett's movements, and built a case brick by brick. The evidence was piling up: bank records showing suspicious transfers, emails with coded language, shell companies registered in Delaware with Bartlett's fingerprints all over them. They were getting close to having enough for an arrest warrant. But 3 afternoons a week he was just Ryan, the business consultant who met Sophia for coffee or lunch. The guy she could talk to about anything. The friend who listened without judgment when she opened up about her fears and struggles. And that's where things got complicated. Ryan pulled into his usual spot across from Meridian Technologies, settling in for another day of watching and waiting. His partner for the day was Detective Lopez, a sharp woman in her 30s who didn't miss much. "So," Lopez said, unwrapping a sandwich, "word around the precinct is you've made contact with the CEO." Ryan kept his eyes on the building entrance. "News travels fast. You told Morrison last week." He told the lieutenant. "Now everyone knows." She took a bite and studied him. "How'd you manage that? We've been trying to reach her for months." "Right place, right time," Ryan said vaguely. "Ran into her by chance. We've talked a few times." "And?" Lopez pressed. "What's she like? Is she involved in the fraud?" "No," Ryan said immediately. Too immediately. Lopez raised an eyebrow. "I mean, nothing I've seen suggests she knows what Bartlett's doing. She seems genuinely focused on the company's mission, the technology. The money stuff doesn't seem to interest her much." "Interesting," Lopez said slowly. "Morrison says she's been out of the office for months. Any idea why?" Ryan hesitated. He knew exactly why. Sophia was 7 months pregnant with Bartlett's baby. She'd been hiding from the office because she couldn't face seeing her ex every day, because the stress was affecting her pregnancy, because she felt like she was losing control of the company she'd built. But that was Sophia's private business. She'd trusted him with those details. "Medical leave," Ryan said. "That's all I know." Lopez didn't look convinced, but she let it drop. They spent the next 3 hours in silence, watching people come and go. Ryan recognized most of the key players by now. The board members, the executives, the assistants who seemed to run everything behind the scenes. At 2:30, his personal phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. "Hey, I know this is last minute, but any chance you're free for coffee? Having a rough day and could use a friendly face." Ryan stared at the message. He was on duty. He should say no. But Lopez was here. She could handle surveillance for an hour. "Actually," he said, trying to sound casual, "I need to follow up on something. Can you cover here for a bit?" Lopez smirked. "Let me guess. Coffee with the CEO?" "It's work," Ryan insisted. "Sure it is." But she waved him off. "Go, I've got this." "But Ryan, be careful. I've seen that look before." "What look?" "The look that says this stopped being just work a while ago." Ryan didn't respond, mostly because she was right. 30 minutes later, he walked into their usual coffee shop. Sophia was already there, sitting in their corner table. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Her hair was in a messy bun and she wore sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. "You look like you need more than coffee," Ryan said, sitting down. Sophia managed a weak smile. "Try a vacation. Or a time machine. Either works. What happened?" She wrapped her hands around her cup like she was trying to absorb its warmth. "I got a call from my board chair this morning. They want me back in the office. Said the company needs visible leadership right now. They're being polite about it, but basically they think I'm abandoning ship." "Are you?" "Maybe." She looked down at her belly. "I built that company from nothing, Ryan, absolutely nothing. I was 22, broke, coding in my dorm room at 3 in the morning because I had this idea. This vision of how technology could help people, and it worked. Against all odds, it actually worked." Ryan had read about Meridian's early days during his case research, the scrappy startup that landed a major contract with a healthcare company. The way Sophia had reinvested every penny back into the business. How she'd slept in the office for months because she couldn't afford rent and office space. "That's something to be proud of," he said. "I was proud. I'm proud. But now," she shook her head, "I haven't been to the office in 4 months. I can't face going back, can't face seeing him every day, pretending everything's professional when he destroyed me personally. This was dangerous territory. Ryan knew who him was, but Sophia thought he didn't. Your ex works there. Sophia laughed bitterly. Works there? He practically runs the place now. The board loves him. He's charismatic, smart, always knows exactly what to say. They probably wish he was CEO instead of me. I doubt that. You don't know them. Half the board thought I was too young to run the company from the start. A 24-year-old girl? Must be some kind of fluke. They've been waiting for me to fail. She paused. Maybe they're right. Maybe I've already failed. Hey, Ryan said firmly. Stop, you built something incredible. One person's betrayal doesn't erase that, doesn't it? I didn't just fail in my personal life, Ryan. I failed professionally, too. I let him into the inner circle, gave him power, trusted him with everything. And now the board listens to him more than they listen to me. How is that anything but failure? Ryan wanted to tell her the truth so badly it physically hurt. Wanted to say that Richard Bartlett wasn't just untrustworthy in relationships, that he was a criminal, that he'd been systematically stealing from her company for years, that she wasn't crazy for feeling like something was wrong, but he couldn't. Not yet. The case wasn't ready. If he tipped her off now and she confronted Bartlett, the man would destroy evidence and disappear. $45 million could take someone anywhere in the world. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we see least clearly, Ryan said carefully. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. Sophia looked at him for a long moment. You're a good person, you know that? Like genuinely good. I don't meet many people like you. The guilt was crushing. Ryan took a sip of his coffee to avoid responding. Can I tell you something crazy? Sophia continued. Sometimes I imagine just walking away from all of it. The company, the board, the stress. Just selling my shares and taking my baby somewhere quiet. Raising them far away from all this corporate nonsense. What, would you really do that? No, she admitted. Because as much as it hurts right now, Meridian is my baby too. I built it. I can't just abandon it because things got hard. She smiled sadly. Guess I'm a glutton for punishment. They talked for another hour. Sophia told him about her latest doctor's appointment, how the baby was healthy and active. Ryan shared a funny story about his daughter Lily trying to cook dinner and nearly setting off the smoke alarm. Normal things. Human things. The kind of conversation that made Ryan forget, just for a moment, about the lies between them. When they finally left the coffee shop, Sophia hugged him. A real hug. Not one of those polite social things. Thank you, she said. I don't know what I'd do without these talks. Ryan hugged her back, feeling like the worst person in the world. Anytime. I mean it. He watched her drive away, then pulled out his phone. 7 missed calls from Lopez. 3 angry texts. He called her back immediately. Where the hell have you been? Lopez demanded. Bartlett left the building an hour ago with 2 suitcases. I followed him to a storage facility on the east side. Ryan, I think he's getting ready to run. Ryan's blood went cold. Did you lose him? No, I'm still on him. He's at his apartment now, but we need to move. If he rabbits, we lose everything. I'm on my way. Call Morrison. Tell him we need that warrant now. Ryan broke every speed limit getting back to his car and racing across town. His mind was spinning. If Bartlett was preparing to flee, it meant something had spooked him. Had Sophia said something? Had the board asked questions? Or had Bartlett somehow found out about the investigation? Ryan met Lopez 2 blocks from Bartlett's apartment. Morrison was already there with 2 other detectives and an assistant district attorney. We've got enough for a warrant, Morrison said without preamble. Judge signed off 20 minutes ago. We're going in at dawn tomorrow. Full raid. The apartment, his office, everything. Tomorrow might be too late, Lopez said. He's packing. I saw him loading boxes into his car. Morrison's jaw tightened. Then we do it tonight. 10 p.m. That gives us 4 hours to coordinate with the Financial Crimes Unit and get everyone in position. Ryan nodded, but his stomach was churning. 10 p.m. meant Sophia would find out by morning. The news would spread through the company. She'd see Bartlett arrested, see federal agents going through files, and she'd realize something massive had been happening right under her nose, and she'd remember all those coffee dates with Ryan, the business consultant who'd asked casual questions about her company, who'd showed up right when she was most vulnerable. She'd know he'd lied to her, used her. Even if his feelings had become real, even if he'd grown to genuinely care about her, the foundation was built on deception. Ryan, Morrison said, pulling him aside. I know you've gotten close to Montgomery. That's good work. But when this goes down, she's going to have questions. The Bureau might want to interview her, see if she knew anything. She didn't know, Ryan said firmly. I'd stake my career on it. Maybe, but we still need to talk to her. And she needs to hear about Bartlett's arrest from us, not from the media. Morrison studied his face. I want you to be the one to tell her. You've built rapport. She trusts you. Ryan felt sick. Captain, I don't think that's a good idea. It's not a request. Tomorrow morning after the arrest, you go to her house and explain what happened. Be gentle, but get a formal statement. We need to know if she saw anything, heard anything, suspected anything. That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at his ceiling, thinking about Sophia's face when she'd hugged him. The trust in her eyes, the way she'd opened up about her fears and pain. He thought about his daughter in the next room, peacefully sleeping. Lily, who believed her dad was a hero, who thought cops always did the right thing. What was the right thing here? His job was to catch criminals, to protect people. Bartlett had stolen millions. He deserved to be arrested. But in the process, Ryan had hurt someone who'd done nothing wrong except trust the wrong people. First Bartlett, then Ryan himself. His phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Thank you again for today. You're a good friend. Sleep well. Ryan stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed back, you too. Take care of yourself. It was the last peaceful message they'd exchange, because in less than 12 hours, everything would explode. At 9:55 p.m., Ryan stood with his team outside Richard Bartlett's luxury apartment building. They had tactical officers, financial investigators, and enough warrants to search every aspect of Bartlett's life. Everyone clear on their roles? Morrison asked. Clean operation. By the book. No mistakes. They moved in at exactly 10 p.m. Ryan's job was Bartlett's home office while others searched the bedroom and living areas. The apartment was expensively furnished. Modern art on the walls, high-end electronics everywhere. The kind of place someone with a big salary and bigger theft could afford. They found Bartlett in his bedroom, literally packing a suitcase. His face went white when he saw the badges. Richard Bartlett, Morrison announced. You're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and money laundering. As they read him his rights and put him in cuffs, Bartlett's eyes found Ryan's and he smiled. Actually smiled. Does Sophia know? Bartlett asked. About your little investigation? Ryan didn't respond. She doesn't, does she? Bartlett laughed. Oh man, she's going to be devastated. Not about me. She'll get over that, but you? She really trusted you. This is going to destroy her. Shut up, Ryan said quietly. You think you're the hero here, detective? You used a pregnant woman to build your case. You lied to her for weeks, made her think she had a friend when really you just wanted information. Bartlett leaned closer despite the officers on either side. At least I was honest about being a bastard. You? You're worse than me, and you don't even know it. They dragged Bartlett away, still talking, still smiling that awful smile. Ryan stood in the apartment, surrounded by evidence of crimes and betrayal, and wondered if Bartlett was right. At 6 a.m. the next morning, Ryan pulled up outside Sophia's house. A beautiful place in the suburbs, probably worth a couple million. He sat in his car for 10 minutes trying to find the courage to walk up to that door. His phone rang. Morrison, you there? Yeah. Media's already got wind of the arrest. It'll be on the morning news in an hour. You need to tell her before she sees it on TV. I know. Ryan, I know this is hard, but you did good work. We got a criminal off the streets. Remember that. Ryan hung up and walked to the front door, rang the doorbell, waited. Sophia answered in her pajamas, hair messy from sleep. She smiled when she saw him, though it faded quickly when she registered his expression. Ryan? What's wrong? It's 6 a.m. Sophia, he said, and his voice cracked slightly. We need to talk. Can I come in? She stepped aside, confusion and growing worry on her face. And Ryan stepped through that door knowing that whatever trust they'd built, whatever connection had formed between them, was about to shatter into a million pieces. Sometimes doing the right thing feels exactly like doing the wrong thing, and sometimes the line between hero and villain is thinner than anyone wants to admit. Sophia led Ryan into her living room. It was surprisingly cozy for such an expensive house. Comfortable furniture, books everywhere. Photos of what looked like her parents and siblings on the mantel, a half-finished nursery visible through an open doorway down the hall. You're scaring me. Sophia said, sitting down heavily on the couch. Her hand went protectively to her belly. What's going on? Ryan remained standing. He couldn't sit, couldn't get comfortable. This was going to be the hardest conversation of his career. My name is Ryan Chen, he started, but I'm not a business consultant. I'm a detective. I work for the state police, Financial Crimes Division. The color drained from Sophia's face. She stared at him like he'd just spoken in a foreign language. What? For the past 6 months, my team has been investigating Meridian Technologies. Specifically, your CFO, Richard Bartlett. Ryan forced himself to keep talking, to not look away from her shocked expression. We have evidence that he's been embezzling money from your company. Millions of dollars. Creating shell companies, offshore accounts, falsifying records. Sophia shook her head slowly. No, that's not possible. Richard is... She stopped. Wait, you're a cop? Yes. And you've been investigating my company? For 6 months? Her voice was getting louder. When did you find out I was the CEO? 2 days after we met. At the gas station. Sophia stood up abruptly. 2 days. So when you helped me with my tire, you didn't know, but then you found out and you... Understanding crashed over her face like a wave. The coffee dates. The long talks. Me telling you everything. You were using me. It wasn't like that, wasn't it? Sophia's eyes were filling with tears, but her voice was pure anger now. What did you think? That the stupid pregnant girl would give you information if you pretended to be her friend? Sophia, please, it's Ms. Montgomery, she snapped. That's who I actually am, right? Not the crying woman at the gas station. Not your coffee buddy. I'm the CEO of the company you're investigating. Ryan took a step forward. She took a step back. I never used you for information, Ryan said, desperate for her to understand. I didn't ask you about company finances or Bartlett or anything case-related. I kept those things completely separate. Oh, how noble of you, Sophia said bitterly. You only lied about your entire identity. You only let me pour my heart out to you while pretending to be someone you're not. But sure, you kept things separate. I know how this looks, how it looks. Sophia laughed, but there was no humor in it. You let me trust you. I told you things I haven't told anyone. About the baby. About feeling alone. About Richard breaking my heart. Her voice cracked. I thought I finally had a real friend. Someone who cared about me. Not my money or my company or what I could do for them. I do care about you, Ryan said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. Everything between us, the connection we built, that was real. Based on lies. Sophia shouted. You know what the worst part is? I actually thought you were different. When you helped me that night, I thought I'd found someone genuine in a world full of people who want to use me. She wiped at her eyes angrily. Turns out you were just another person with an agenda. That's not fair. Fair? Sophia stared at him. You want to talk about fair? Fine. Let's talk about how you approached a vulnerable pregnant woman and manipulated her for weeks. Let's talk about how you sat across from me in coffee shops, listening to me cry about my ex, knowing things about my company that I didn't even know. You had information I needed, information that affects my business, my employees, my life, and you said nothing. I couldn't tell you. The investigation, Sophia cut him off. Right. Your precious investigation was more important than basic human decency. Tell me, Detective Chen, how long were you planning to keep lying? How far were you willing to take this? Ryan had no answer, because honestly, he didn't know. He'd told himself he was maintaining professional boundaries, that he was doing his job. But the truth was messier. The truth was that he'd enjoyed those coffee dates, had looked forward to seeing her, had started caring about her in ways that had nothing to do with the case. Richard was arrested last night, Ryan said quietly. We executed search warrants on his apartment and his office. He's in custody right now. Sophia sank back onto the couch. Richard, she repeated. You arrested Richard. The evidence is overwhelming. Bank records, email trails, documents. He's been stealing from Meridian for at least 3 years. $45 million, probably more. 45 million. Sophia's voice was hollow. He was stealing from me? From my company? Yes, and you knew. For how long? We've been building the case for 6 months, but we suspected it for longer. Sophia looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. Did you know he was the father of my baby? Ryan hesitated. Not at first. You told me about your ex, about the breakup. I figured it out from there. So you knew that the man who broke my heart, who abandoned me and our child, was also robbing me blind. And you said nothing. She stood up again, wrapped her arms around herself. Get out! Sophia. Ms. Montgomery, she corrected again. And I said get out. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. Whatever you need from me for your investigation, send it through my lawyer. I need to get a formal statement about whether you had any knowledge. Knowledge? Sophia's voice was dangerous now. You want to know if I was involved in stealing from my own company? The company I built from nothing? The company that's been my entire life? It's procedure. We have to ask, then ask through my lawyer. I want you out of my house right now. Ryan pulled out a business card, his real one this time, and set it on the coffee table. This has my actual information. If you need anything or if you remember anything relevant to the case, I won't be needing anything from you ever again, Sophia said. And the only thing relevant to your case is that I had no idea. No idea about the money and no idea that the detective who found me crying at a gas station was about to make everything so much worse. Ryan walked to the door, then turned back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, Sophia said simply. You hurt me worse than Richard did. Because at least with Richard, I knew who he really was by the end. With you, I never even got the truth until it was too late. Ryan left, pulling the door closed behind him. He sat in his car for 10 minutes, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. He'd known this would be hard. Had prepared himself for her anger. But actually seeing the betrayal on her face, hearing the pain in her voice was worse than anything he'd imagined. His phone rang. Morrison. How'd it go? About as badly as possible, Ryan said. She wants everything through her lawyer from now on. Can't say I'm surprised. But we got what we needed. Bartlett's lawyer is already trying to make a deal. Looks like he's willing to tell us where all the money went if we reduce the charges. Good, Ryan said without feeling. You okay? I'm fine. Ryan, listen. I know you got close to her, but you did the right thing. We took down a criminal who was stealing millions. That matters, did it? Ryan wasn't sure anymore. Yes, they'd arrested Bartlett. Justice would be served. But at what cost? The media explosion started within an hour. Ryan watched from the precinct as news vans surrounded Meridian Technologies. Reporters shouting questions at shell-shocked employees. Headlines screaming about the CFO's arrest, the millions stolen, the scandal rocking the tech world. And there was Sophia, forced to face the cameras. Someone had sent him the link to her press conference. She stood outside Meridian's headquarters, looking exhausted and 7 months pregnant, reading a prepared statement. I am shocked and devastated by the allegations against Richard Bartlett, she said, her voice steady despite everything. Meridian Technologies was built on trust and innovation. To learn that someone in a position of leadership violated that trust is heartbreaking. We are cooperating fully with law enforcement and conducting our own internal investigation. A reporter shouted a question. Ms. Montgomery, did you have any knowledge of the embezzlement? None whatsoever, Sophia said firmly. And I want to be clear. This company has over 500 employees who work hard every single day. They did nothing wrong. Our clients did nothing wrong. This was the action of one individual, and we will not let it define us. What about reports that you've been absent from the office for months? Some board members are calling for your resignation. Sophia's jaw tightened. I took medical leave, which is my right. I'm back now, and I will be working with our board and our team to ensure Meridian emerges from this stronger than ever. That's all I have to say. She walked away from the cameras, head held high despite the chaos. Ryan felt a surge of admiration. Even betrayed on every front, even pregnant and exhausted, she was facing this head on. That's when his daughter called. Dad, I saw you on TV. Lily's voice was excited. They said you arrested a bad guy who stole lots of money. You're a hero! Ryan closed his eyes. Thanks, kiddo. Is that the lady you've been having coffee with? The one on the news? She seemed sad. Yeah, that's her. Are you going to help her? You always help people. I don't think she wants my help, Lily. Why not? How did you explain complicated adult situations to a 10-year-old? It's complicated. Sometimes helping people means doing things they don't understand at first.